Hi guys, I hope everyone is doing super well today. I wanted to come on here today to share that my book, Create Your Own Table, is now available for purchase on Amazon. It's actually available at other retailers as well, but currently it is available on Amazon and very soon is going to be available on Audible also. So this is a paperback, so it's available in paperback and it's also available in hardcover. But I think the biggest thing, aside from sharing this news, the biggest thing that I wanted, the biggest message that I wanted to share today was the idea of not doing things in life because somebody else tells you that your goal or your vision is unrealistic. By every stretch of the imagination, my getting this book to market, so I'm going to date this video. It is the 27th of May, 2025. It is right after Memorial Day weekend. And I had shared in previous videos when I conceived of the idea to write this book, I started writing, and I'm just going to keep myself honest. I believe that date was February 3rd or February 4th. February 4th, right in here, February 4th. And I had this feeling, knowing, a feeling that honestly I just couldn't shake, that I needed to get everything that was in me out. There was a lot happening. If you guys remember, the beginning of the year was extraordinarily tumultuous. And it felt as though all of the experiences that I have had up until that moment in my life, up until now, was really just coming to this place where I needed to just get everything on paper. And I had recalled, so I'm sitting, it is February 4th. Actually, no, it was February 2nd. I started writing on February 4th. And I recalled when I released my first book, Discovering the New York Hospice Boom. For those of you who are familiar with my story, this was actually my very first book. And I used this book to pivot out of being an environmental consultant. And then after that, I'd written Before the Glass and then Pivot, which essentially pivoted my life. And that's really the reason that I ended up here, because it never occurred to me the challenges that a lot of individuals have with change, with pivoting, for shifting. What is that thought process? And that became the questions that I started to get asked. Heather, what did you think of? How did I get past, different emotion, things like that. And so I spent the last year and a half approximately, because Pivot came out in July 2023. And when I started to realize that I was getting these questions, I shifted the purpose of my business, Dolland Creative Solutions, to supporting individuals who are ready to create that shift in their lives, but they didn't quite know how. And I realized that I needed to create your own table. And so the full name is Create Your Own Table, a guide to discovering your purpose. I realized that I needed to write that because I needed to have everything, all the information in one place. But back to when I wrote my first book, I wrote that I started my first interview. So I interviewed 30 distillers. It's like an interview style book, which is what I would recommend for individuals who want to write a book, but they are not confident that they have enough information to be able to put out to fill an entire book. So it's an interview style book where I interviewed 30 distillers from Brooklyn to the Finger Lakes. My first interview was October 2014, and that book debuted at Book Expo America May 25th, 2015. When you don't know what you don't know, I didn't know that I was a ridiculously fast period in which to create a book. That's number one. I also worked with a publisher, and because it was a very boutique firm, I learned a lot of things. And a lot of what I learned allowed me to be able to create Before the Glass. This book I wrote on a weekend. It is the truth. For those who challenge that, I discovered that all Amazon really requires is 100 to bind. So there are a lot of graphics and things like that that allowed me to be able to create this type of book. This was for my clients. I wrote this actually after a very painfully cost yes, it was painful, and it was financially burdensome experience. I realized that I needed to write this so that I was very clear on my right fit client, that my clients understood who I was, what the expectation was, so we could essentially identify each other. So for a couple dollars, literally, you could buy this, or I give it to you for free. And if you agree, great, we can work together. And if you don't agree, it's all good. But at least now, what happened that caused me to write this book wasn't going to happen again, because I lost a tremendous amount of money. I wrote this at the beginning. This was February. It was February. February 2018, literally in a weekend, because I was really angry and upset. But more than anything else, I knew that year was going to be very challenging, starting out in a financial deficit. So that was like the motivation, impetus for this. So this was super quick. Got it up. I think I started writing in February. This was available on Amazon by March, because I could not afford to make that mistake again. And I say that to say, so Pivot was different. There was no real big motivator and big rush for this. This sat on my laptop in different chapters for ages. It really, I didn't know what to do until I had lunch with a friend, and I realized that there was a consistent theme that ran through my life, which was consistent small actions over time, and the large results that those actions could yield. But the reason that I mention this is because of the speed in which I have written everything else, number one. Number two, and I think which is huge, I am self-publishing. I am not using a traditional publisher. So I could control the narrative quite literally, the timeline, all of those things in a way that if you're working with a traditional publisher, you're obviously not able to. So it didn't seem so far-fetched in my mind, just because I had already done these things and I trust myself. If there is one thing that I know about me that I could take to the bank about myself, is that if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Everyone who knows me knows that. I do not say I'm going to do something and not follow through, but I especially don't break promises to myself. And so I knew that once I started, so the first thing that I did not write this book. I transcribed it. I used an app called Descript. And so it was all speech to text. So when I think about the pain, because this was so painful creating this book, I interviewed, figure, I'm also literally drinking, right? As I am going through, because in this book, well, this is myself and my dog, different conversation. So I interview like the different distillers, and I'm telling their story, and I am tasting all of their products, like every single one. I can't share and tell their stories if I am not tasting their product. Very quickly, I begin to realize, okay, I can't drink and write at the same time. And so I recorded it, and then I had to sit and listen to it and write it. Painful, awful, awful, awful experience. I would never suggest doing that, but it is what it is. It's what I chose to do. And it took me, I would say almost 8,000 words, maybe a week. By the time I sat and listened to like a finished words that actually went into the book, versus when I sat and I decided to complete this book, I was speaking like 17,000 words across 2 hours. And that's in one day. And I knew size-wise, like this is a reasonable size book. It's not too big, it's not too small, it's manageable. You could get through this with relative speed and ease. I knew I wanted to write a book that was at around the 50,000 word mark. And so when I realized that I was speaking about 17 to 18,000 words in 2 hours. In 1 week, I had a proper book. That's the reason that this happened so quickly. I read a comment, somebody talking about this being a scam, and I was like, how is my life a scam, dude? Like, I'm telling you, like, this is what, I mean, try it yourself. I feel like this person did not understand what the definition of scam is. But what was painful, admittedly, was the editing part. Because, so I used the script and I'm saying everything, it's writing it. I would pause every about 15 minutes just to make sure that I didn't lose, because look, at the end of the day, it's technology, right? And anything can happen. We know that. And the last thing I would have wanted was to spend 2 hours speaking, then press transcribe, and it's disappeared. So I was stopping every about 15 minutes to let it upload. Once it uploaded, then I continued again. So I made sure everything was nice and safe. But then I had to rewrite it, because the way that you speak is not the same way that you write. And so that was a little bit tedious, but it wasn't awful. But the second thing that I did to make sure that I got this to the timeline that was necessary, and I'll explain why the timeline was necessary in a moment, I reached out to the person who edited Pivot. She's an editor whom I found on Fiverr. I thought she did a really great job on this book. And I let her know, like, by day 2, I'm like, okay, I have this book that I'm working on. I am going to give it to you on February 24th. Like, I remembered committing to that date, so she knew, because I wanted to make sure that there was enough space on her calendar. And because, yeah, I'm not, look, I have all these ideas, but I'm not a professional book editor. I let that person do what it is that they do. I do what I do. We all stay in our lane and respect each other's talents, right? So, like I said, this was a great experience working with her. I let her know, look, I just started with this book. I'm going to be done, because I knew that. I know I want a 50,000 page. Like, that's how I thought about it, in just bite-sized pieces. This way it wasn't overwhelming. She reaches back in a couple of hours. She's like, fine. She would need, I think it was 50 days. That was the longest part, just sitting with the editor. She needed 50 days to get through it, to get through all of the editing and whatever revisions, what else we need. That was it. So once I knew she was getting it to me by the end of April, then I also contacted the graphic designer, also on Fiverr, that did the back cover for this book, because even though I actually created this cover on Canva, I needed the back cover, the whole book design, the spine to be designed also. And so I used the same person. I'm like, you know what, if it's not broken, don't fix it, right? No need to fix it. And I asked him to create the cover once I knew exactly how many pages it was going to be, because that, by the way, that is actually really huge for anybody who is interested in self-publishing. You do need to have a proper idea what the thickness is, so that the spine is created correctly. This way everything lines up when you go to upload it to Amazon, or if you're going to use Ingram Spark, which I am using for my distribution. Ingram is for wholesalers, just so you know also, and obviously Amazon is for just general individuals who would like to purchase it. But you would use a platform like Ingram. That's like where booksellers and other people who would purchase your book wholesale, so it'll be uploaded to that platform. But this was the rub. So I do all of this stuff, and it's, I think, like the 5th of May. I have everything ready. I have the spine, like I know what is going to be. And then I realized, oh my goodness, I did not get the Library of Congress number. That's this number right here. And this number is really important, because if you want to have it in a library, you need to have a Library of Congress. I'm like, you know what? Again, I didn't do this for no reason. Yes, I would want to have that happen, give my book and my brand the best chance of success possible. And so I go into, I think this is like May 5th or something like that. And I knew I wanted this to be ready by Memorial Day weekend. So I go in and I'm requesting a Library of Congress number. It says that it's going to take, I think, up to 15 days. I'm like, you know what? Fine, no pressure. It's still going to be before Memorial Day weekend. Like for me, that was my goal. That was just important to me. And it said, well, choose an anticipated date of release, of publication. So I put in May, I think I put in May 20th or something like that. And then I get these big red letters. Please put in a realistic publication date. And I'm like, that is realistic. Everything is written. All I have to do is upload this to Amazon. And once I upload it to Amazon, it's released. That is, and I upload it to Ingram Spark. It's released. Like that is a realistic publication date. It refused to allow me to put the publication date as May 20th. And so I ended up putting the publication date as like the first, I think it was like the 1st of June or something like that. And note again that this video is being recorded on May 27th with me having my copies in hand, right? And I'm like, my goodness, okay. How many times in life? So this is Library of Congress, and I'm not knocking them, but it sparked a thought in my mind. How many times we don't do things because we're being told that this thing that you want to do is unrealistic. But guess what? It's only unrealistic until you actually do it. Don't limit yourself and the things that you want to achieve, the desires of your own heart, because of the limitation of the vision of other people. I love to say, if you want to know the path ahead, ask the person who is coming back. And far too many times, we make it a point to ask people for directions who have never been where it is that we would like to go. And so please allow me respectfully to be that guide, that person that is showing you that that path and that place that you would like to go is in fact possible. The fact that, actually, and I'll take this one step further, because I am a person who loves to listen to audiobooks. The vast majority of books that I listen to are on Audible. I love to walk my dog or just take a walk in general, go to the park, to drive, whatever, and listen to books. And so I had to make sure that I had the audio version that's going to be available soon. And I decided to, because I realized that when I was recording Pivot, when you're writing, especially when you're doing a lot of your own editing and, you know, it's super hands-on, sometimes you don't see mistakes because you keep reading the same thing. You read things that aren't there. You include things that are not. Like that happens, right? It's just life. So being aware of that, I decided to wait until I finished doing the audio version. I booked studio time for that. So in as much as I do voiceover work and I do have the ability to record my own audio, just the idea of editing that file just made everything in me twitch. I can't even. Painful, not for me. So I was finished in the studio on May 15th. And I went home immediately because I'm like, okay, because I'm reading the same file that essentially I'm going to upload to Amazon. And I'm like, all right, I'm done. Whatever little mistakes I made, they were literally a handful, barely not even a full hand. And I uploaded it to Amazon. So my actual publication date is May 15th. And that is why 12 days later, I mean, I have all these copies also. Because, yeah, that was, so go figure. That was actually May 15th. And back to what I said, don't let someone else's limitations be your own. If you have that vision and that goal and that driver in your own heart and in your own life, let that be the litmus test. Let that be that driver, that thing that gets you to where it is that you want to go. Memorial Day was really important for me because I saw the way that This book changed my life because I do believe that timing is everything. I was an environmental consultant for you guys who remember this part of my story. I ended up writing this book. This book ended up shifting my business entirely to where I started to work with craft distillers. And I started that aspect of my business. So all the Tastes of New York went from a business that did food crawls and experiential dining into providing services for New York State distillers. And that business. So I released in May. That business occurred in September. And I said, you know what, Heather? You already know that part to be true, right? So what if that is also true here? So, allowing you all who don't know me the opportunity to meet me here and to meet me here. And if you would like my support, if I could provide value to your life after you've taken the time to assess what it is that your heart desires over the summer, what the vision is that you have for your life, I would be honored if you would allow me to continue to be part of your journey now and beyond. So, as always, if you have any questions, please never hesitate to ask, and absolutely be sure to pick up your copy of Create Your Own Table, a guide to discovering your purpose, available on Amazon and other retailers, and it's going to be soon available on Audible as well. Again, guys, have a fantastic day. Take care, and I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.